Happy Monday, everyone. Carmen Broxma here with Choose Joy with Carmen. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Arvada, Colorado, and back again for another episode of my Mo Joy Monday. And in last week's video, I said that we were going to be working on Christmas cards for the month of November. So in today's video, we are going to be working with this stamp set right here to create the card. Now, I just recently found out that starting on Tuesday the 15th for 4 days, Stampin' Up! Is having a seasonal sale. Unfortunately, this is not one of the sets that's on sale because I think they're focusing more on the stuff that's in the annual catalog. So a lot of the stuff here is not going to be on sale. I think I have one item that I'm using today that's going to be on sale because like the designer paper is going to be on sale, but not the specialty ones. And this is a specialty one that I'm going to be using and so on. So I was a little disappointed with that, but I already had this card in mind and I didn't want to change gears. But I will go ahead and be sending out an email to everybody who's on my email list about what the sale is, and it has a PDF of all of the items that are on sale and so forth. So if you are not currently on my email list and want to be sure to get that email, then go ahead and sign up, and I will put that link in the description below on how you can sign up to be a part of my email list. So let's continue on showing you the products that I'm using on today's card. So again, I'm using this Piece to You stamp set. We're going to be working with the nativity and then these two sentiments right here. And then I'm using a lot of Stampin' Blends on today's card for my coloring. And then I decided when I wanted a designer paper that was kind of not rugged, but a little bit, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, a little bit more, oh, I don't know. It's not rugged, but you'll see when I get to the card. So I decided to go with this texture Chic specialty designer series paper. And as I was going through it, there was like a lot of beautiful papers in here. Like I fell in love with this one. But I like the back, but not for today's card. So I just kind of was going through here. Like I thought, ooh, this is pretty, right? Wouldn't that be cool? But then I found this one right here at the end. And I fell in love with it because it's kind of like a wood grain. And when I think of the nativity, I think of the stable and all that. So I liked this. It was in the dark colors. It was wood grain. And then I really loved the back because it complemented it, but it also had that gold in it. And I love gold. I think that would be a great thing to put on a Christmas card. So this is the designer paper that I'm going to be using. And then I wasn't so sure what I was going to do for the star. So I thought, well, I'll figure out something, but we're going to be we're going to end up using, oh my gosh, the gold flakes. And I'll show you how I did that on the star. And then I wanted to use those same gold flakes to get a strip of paper. But here's the funny thing was, I was looking for my masking paper because I thought, well, that is sticky on both sides. And so what I could do is remove the top part and then put the gold flakes on top so it would stick to something. And then I would create a strip of paper that I was looking for, right? Well, I know I bought it, but I don't know where I put it because I don't use it on a regular basis, so now I got to go on a hunt for it. But then I remembered this gorgeous paper. And this one is called, I think it's the distressed gold. Now talk about perfect, because that paper over there is distressed to me. And this is kind of what I was going to try to be getting with my masking paper if I would have found it. But now look, see, I don't have to go through that creating it because I found this paper. So we're going to be using that. I'm going to be using the jewel rhinestones, and then I'm going to be using this stripes and this embossing folder that comes from the stripes and splatters 3D. And this is the only item that we're using today that's going to be on sale starting on Tuesday and for the 4 days. So, but that's the way it goes, right? And then we're going to be using the Memento ink, and then the crumb cake, and then the one of my blending brushes. So I think I've covered everything that we're going to use on today's card. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I decided to do was use my Stamparatus, because when there's a solid image like this, I can never get it on one go around. So basically I decided, well, it'd be better to use the Stamparatus. That way I could stamp it as many times as I need to get it to the color that I am looking for. So I just went ahead and, normally I put let me put something underneath there. Normally I like to put something underneath here so that I can get that more even surface to do my inking. And then I go ahead and make sure that it's in the upper corner there and that my magnet's there, so that when I re-ink it and stamp it again, that I'm going to be right where I need to be. I just love my Stamparatus. And I know there are a lot of different positioning tools out there, but what I love about this one, not that I'm going to use it today, but what I love about it is, like, if let's say I had a word there and I wanted to repeat it, I could just pick this up. So you take it out of its slot and you move it down, and then you can continue going on. That is the one thing that I love about the Stamparatus. So as you can see, it wasn't dark enough the way I wanted it. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue on and get this done to the way I want it, and come back when I have it the way, as dark as I want it. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I got it inked up nicely, and it's perfect as far as the amount of ink that I have on there. So now what I'm going to do is we're just going to pull this out, and I'm just going to set this aside. I'll go back and clean it later. But now what we're going to do is we need to start our coloring. And like I said, I'm going to use my blends, and I don't want to bore you with coloring, but I'll just kind of tell you what I did, and then I'll show you the result. So what I ended up doing was I colored, so I kind of worked on her headgear here. I don't know what you call it. So I decided to go with, because now remember, I'm focusing on this paper right here. So I was wanting to bring in those colors. So I went ahead, and there's the, this is Evening Evergreen. Okay, so let's get these together here. We've got the Soft Succulent, the Light and the Dark, and I'm going to do that on her head covering here. Basically, I'm going to do some of the dark in underneath her, and then focus on a little bit of the dark in areas and light on the top part there. And I'm going to do the same thing with his, but I'm going to be focusing on the light and dark Evening Evergreen. And then for their skin color, I went ahead and pulled out the the number 900 from that one set that we had. I don't know if we still have it. I need to go look. When we had all the skin tone colors. So I'm using that 900. And then um, I'm using kind of like the grays, let's see, what is it? What color is this? This is the dark and light smoky slate. I'm using that for his clothing there. Now hers is already done because it's in the black. And then I'm using the light and dark crumb cake for the bottom here for like the ground that they would be sitting on. And then I am using the, well, let's see, wait a minute. So okay, that was the light and here's the light and dark crumb cake. Okay, so then the light soft suede I'm using on the staff there. And then, let's see, I think that's it. Oh, and then for baby Jesus, I wanted to use the light and dark Highland Heather because purple to me is royalty. And I always, when I think of Jesus, I think of purple. I don't know why. And maybe that's why I'm team purple, but I love purple. Okay. But then I also brought in my alcohol marker color lifter because sometimes it was a little too dark and I needed to lighten it up a little bit. So let me show you what I did. And then after I did that, I went ahead and trimmed it up because I wanted it to be separate. So let me show you what that looks like. It's right here. And I've already done some of the other stuff and I'll show you how I did that. But I love it. And I love the way the ground came out, you know, and it's just by blending the darks and the lights. I did that with his clothing, you know. I just love that look. It looks, not that it's dirty, but it looks like they've been out in the desert, right? And I did the coloring. I like the way this came out. Now the Highland Heather was a little bit too much for me, so that's when I came in with my color lifter and pulled, you know, did that in there to make that a little lighter. Now when it came to the star, and I wasn't sure how to do that, so what I did was I took some liquid glue, and I have it in my fine tip, and I kind of just put glue in the middle and kind of pulled it out to each of the points, and I let that dry. Then I came in with a little piece of this, the flakes, the gold flakes, laid it on the kind of dry glue, and then, you know, pressed it down, brought in a little brush and, you know, took off the rest of it. But if you'll notice, there's not, I didn't do it clear to the end. So that stayed white. But I like that gold and white together because I think, you know, it just kind of like highlights it by itself like that. But then I wanted something shiny in the middle, so I went ahead and used the rhinestones. And I added a small rhinestone to the middle of that. So that is the result of the coloring and adding that, the gold flakes and all that. And I really like the way it came out. But now, let me tell you, I had just done a card for Call Me Crafty Owl, and I had this set out here, which is retired. It was this one, but in there was a die cut that was in this shape. Now it's not completely, I didn't cut it all out, but it's this shaped, and I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't this be perfect? So I thought, I know that one is retired and stuff, but I'm sure that many of you have some kind of, you know, die that looks similar to this. But what I ended up doing was I took the crumb cake cardstock and I die cut it out with that die. And then I brought in and I ran it through the Stripes 3D embossing folder. Then I brought in some crumb cake and my blending brush, and I blended on top of that. And then I kind of blended it darker around the edges. I love this because, again, this looks like a stable to me. So now I'm going to go ahead and this is going to go on here. Now you see that the point isn't, the angle isn't identical, but that looks like a rooftop to me. So that turned out exactly what I was looking for. So then I thought, well, I really, 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 really liked the way this looked at the bottom. And I thought, how can I get that to look with my sentiment? So I took another little piece of basic white and I stamped the sentiment in the Memento Tuxedo Black, because then I knew I could use my Stampin' Blends over it and it wouldn't smear. And then I took those two colors again that I used for the ground here, and I did the same thing. I kind of just made it darker around the edges, and with the lighter crumb cake Stampin' Blend, I pulled it in and I just made it look really, really, again, I'm not looking for the word dirty, but just antique-y, I guess is the word. And I tried to, if I got too much where the sentiment was, then again, I brought in my color lifter and, made sure that I could make that lighter in there. So that is going to be the sentiment that we're going to use. So let me go ahead and I will put all the dimensions on my blog like usual. So let me move all this stuff and we will get started on assembling this card. Okay, I am back. So my card base is going to be basic black, and I'm just going to show you, and then I'll speed up the video as I assemble it. But for the inside, I decided to go with the crumb cake because everything on this card is so on the darker side, and I didn't want to have this starking white, basic white on the inside. I thought this would match perfectly. So I'm basically, and I already stamped in the Tuxedo Memento Black, the sentiment for the inside. I'm going to adhere a piece of this designer paper on the bottom here. And then I'm going to adhere this piece and this piece to my card front. And that strip of the distressed gold is going to go there. And then we'll be back and finish up the rest of it. So I'll just speed up the video while I do all this. Okay, that is done. So now let's work on the other pieces. So I left a little bit of space up here because I kind of wanted to attach it to here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put a little bit of liquid glue on the back of the bottom of this piece right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach it or adhere it in the place that I want it. And so that's why I left that little bit at the top so that I would have a place to put the adhesive. So there, that's going to go like that. And I think I've decided that I want to pop this up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use liquid glue again. And the reason why I use liquid glue on this is because whenever I have embossing, there's all of these little crevices in and out, and I think the liquid glue is a more safe way to make sure that it is going to be adhered. Uh, if Unless you're going to use a lot of your Stampin' Seal, but the liquid glue is going to seep into those embossed and debossed crevices. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the front of the card and decide where I want it. I think that looks pretty good. And the other good thing about the liquid glue is then you have a chance to move it around to the place you want it. So now I'm going to go ahead and use some Stampin' Dimensionals, but because everything, like I said, on this card is so dark, I decided to go with the with our black Stampin' Dimensionals, because then that way when you look at it from the side, it won't be a stark white Stampin' Dimensional. It'll have this darker look. And I think, I mean, I don't know if anybody looks at the side, but I just thought this is a great opportunity to use our black ones, right? So now I'm going to go ahead, and I think what I'm going to do is, I can't decide whether I want it flush with the bottom. I think I do, because I think I'd rather the top part look like it's more of a roof. And then this way, if I put it close to that sentiment, then it looks like the ground is melding in with the sentiment there, if that makes any sense. And then that way the top part is a little wider, but it's kind of crooked there a little bit. So let's see if I can get that more lined up there. But then that gives it that roof line look. And I just love it. I can't decide whether I want to make these for some Christmas cards. I get worried about all the steps that I've done here with the coloring and that. But I suppose if I started, you know, like mass production, I would get faster at it. But I really, really like that. So I hope you enjoyed that as well. And then the inside looks like this. And I couldn't decide which side of the paper I wanted to do. So I ended up going with this because I think it looks more like, you know, the stable, the wood, and the cardstock. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I really liked it. Now, I also didn't know whether or not to go into detail about the coloring, because the bad thing about having a YouTube channel is you don't really know who's watching you. You don't know if it's beginners, or if everybody who's watching you is experienced card makers and, you know, and know more than I do. So I always struggle with wondering, you know, do I take the time to really show the detail of all the coloring and how I did it? But let me tell you, if you really want me to show you how I did my coloring, then just leave a comment below. And if I get enough comments that really want me to show you how I colored, I would be glad to do a video just on that, on how I colored this card, and then put it out there for anybody who wants to see it. So, but if I don't get anybody interested, then I'm not going to take the time to do it, because I don't know that anybody's going to watch it if they already know how to color with the Stampin' Blends. So, alrighty, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. And I guess you guys have a great rest of your week. And we will see you again next Monday for another episode of My Mojo Monday. And hope you have a nice, happy crafting week. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.